So the first thing you want to do, or the next thing you're going to do after doing the upper area, is to put in your bust measurement on the bust line and the waistline. So whatever your bust measurement is, you're going to divide it by 4. So I already did that on my armhole line, so I'm going to do that again on the bust line. So I have 9.5 inches. I'll mark it on my bust line, and on the waistline also I'm going to mark 9.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to square up all these lines so they all match up to be the same. So I should have a straight line like so. Now the next thing you want to do after this is to look for your bust span. Now the bust span I'm working with is 3.8 inches, but I'm going to approximate it to 4 inches. How did I get 3.8 inches? There's how I work around my own bust span. Now before I move on, what exactly is your bust span? Your bust span is the distance between the bust points. Okay, the highest point of your area, that's the nipple. The nipple area is where the highest point of the bust is. Therefore, the distance between the two of them, okay, the distance between the two of them, if you measure on the person's body, you are going to divide it by 2, because we are working with half of the front bodies here, right? Of the front, we're working with half of the front here. So whatever you get as a bust point becomes your bust span. So when you divide it by 2, it becomes your bust span. Okay, that's if you measure on the body. If you don't measure on the body, you can still work with a particular formula I usually use, even if I don't measure my clients, okay, which is my bust measurement divided by 10 inches. So if I divide my bust measurement, which is 38 right now, by 10 inches, I'll get 3.8, okay? So any whole number that you divide by 10 will give you that same number in decimal, okay? If it was 37 now, I would have 3.7. If it was 40, I will have 4.0, okay? So whatever figure you have, that will become your bust span, and it usually works for everybody, as I've been using it for a long time. So, but what I usually do, if I have anything more than 3.5, okay, any bust measurement that is more than 35, I approximate to 4, which gives me a round up figure. I round it up to the nearest whole number. So we are speaking mathematics now, right? Okay, I'm so sorry for all the math. Let's continue. So what I'm working with my bust span is 4 inches. I'm going to mark 4 inches on the bust line. I'll still come down to the waistline and mark 4 inches, and I'm going to square up this line. I'll square up this line. This becomes the middle of my dart leg. Yes, we are going to create a dart. You know, darts are used for fittings. It's used for fitness. They are used for fullness. They are even also used to create stylings on the clothes. There are lots of things that I can talk about that, like it can be a book on its own. So let's not even dive into that. Let's continue. So this midpoint, this bust span that we have been speaking the English and every other thing, is what we are going to use to find our dart. You cannot come to any point of your body and say, oh, I'm marking my dart in here. No, it must connect to the fullest point of the bust, especially when you're working for the front. Now this dart middle, this is now our middle dart leg. You can also call it your bust span, whichever it works. This bust span line that we have marked here now, as it connects to the bust line, that point is connected to the bust line, becomes your highest point, becomes that nipple point that we're talking about. So here becomes your nipple point, your bust, the highest point of your bust, right? So now let's continue. I just wanted to tell you that. I don't know if it has any significance with what we're doing in this video, okay? So let's just continue, but just take note of that. Now, how do I find my dart? Since I've found the middle point of my dart leg, I have to create the side dart legs. How do you do that? Now on my waistline, this is my waistline, Abby. My waistline, my waist point, my bust line, my bust point, any term you want to use for it, right? On the waistline is where you mark your waist measurement. On the bust line is where you mark your bust measurement. But we remember we marked our bust measurement on our waistline. right? Yes, it's because we want to use that difference between the waist and the bust to find our dart. So on my waistline, I will put in now the real measurement for my waist, which is 32 inches divided by 4. And 32 divided by 4 for me it's 8 inches. My own measurement is 32 inches, so I divide it by 4, I have 8 inches. Now this 8 inches will stop here. So this exactly is my waist measurement. So whatever that is left here is what I will use for my dart intake. That is what I'll use to find the other dart leg, that the side dart legs. Now what we have here is 1.5 inches. So this 1.5 inches, I'm going to divide it by 2, okay, because I don't want to get my head messed up with figures. I'll just create a crease here. You see, I folded to my 1.5, created a crease, and I'm going to share this between the line, okay, one to the left, one to the right, one to the right, one to the left, okay, like so. Now on this line also, because we are creating a dart that we don't want to cut through, we're not going to cut through this dart, we're sewing the dart into the dress, we're not cutting it away. Therefore, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. You can come down as low as ½ inch, depends on how busty the person is. You can come down as low as 1.5, depend on how busty the person is too. So I'll come down by 1 inch for me, and we're going to create a connecting line to find our dart legs. So you connect from this 1 inch you came down, you connect to this point. Then from here also, you're going to connect to the left point. So we have succeeded in creating our dart. We got that, right? So at the end of the day, we're going to take this in. By the time you take this in and do your measurements, you'll find out that you have the actual waist measurement. Now, the dart helps you to create fullness for the bust. You know, the bust occupies a higher area compared to the waist area, right? Compared to the waist, the bust occupies higher area compared to the waist. Therefore, when you take in your dart at the end of the day, it's going to create fullness for the bust, where the bust will sit. So you can see the need for your dart. So we continue. Yeah, we're not done yet. We're almost done anyway. So the next thing you want to do is to create your side dart. Now, because of the bust, because we have busts in front of our body as a female, the back is usually shorter than the front. The front is longer. So therefore, we don't use the same length to create a good fit, a dress that fits the body perfectly. You do not want to have the same length that you have for the front for the back. No, the back is supposed to be shorter because the back does not contain the bust. It's only the front that contains the bust. And because of the curve of the bust, you find that at the end of the day, when you measure the front and you measure your back, you will see difference. So I've already talked about this in our measurement video, okay? So I'll just continue. So on the bust line, so from the bust line, okay, from the bust line, yeah, whatever difference your front length, okay, your shoulder to your waistline, whatever difference you have for your shoulder to your waistline, and that's your front waistline, and your shoulder to the back waistline, whatever difference it is, that's what we're going to take for our side dart. Now for me, what I have is a difference of 2 inches because my front measurement, that's my shoulder to my waistline for the front, is 17 inches, and that of the back is 15 inches. 17 inches minus 15 inches will give you 2 inches. So I'm going to come down by 2 inches. So I'll do this. So you can decide to mark away from your bust point. You know we are not cutting through. We are not cutting through. So I'm going to mark away 1 inch again from my bust point. Okay, so it's from this 1 inch now that I will connect down here. So I'll look for the midpoint. I just want to create my truing line. That's truing line is for everything to be accommodated. I won't run short of my paper or fabric at the end of the day. So this midpoint now, I'll use it to find my truing. For my truing, I'll extend by 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch. When you extend by 1 inch, You connect this back here. So you can do 3/4 of an inch anyway. Then connect it back to your waistline, to your armhole measurement here. Okay, this at the end of the day, by the time you take your dart, okay, while we're doing this now, it's called truing of your pattern. By the time you take in your dart, you won't get short of fabric. You won't get short of fabric at all. Okay, you won't get short of fabric. Okay, so by the time you take in your dart, everything will match up nicely. Okay, so even if you have excess, then you can trim it off. It's better to have excess than to have a shortage in your own measurements. Very, very important. So at this point now, we're done with the front. We're going to do the back. We're going to the back. So let's go and draft our back.